Hi there, this is Unmesh from PiXimperfect, and today we're gonna learn how to make your black and white images totally pop and add drama to your images just like so by using local adjustments in Lightroom. So let's have fun and explore the magic of Lightroom, and without any further ado, let's get started. So here we are in Lightroom, and this is a photo of the Union Station Hotel in St. Louis. So let's have a look at the before and after. So this is the before. It looks beautiful. The color image looks amazing. But the black and white image has its own drama. So this is the before. This is the after. Totally the mood and the drama totally applied and changed. So how do we go about it? First of all, let me just create a snapshot. So I already have created a snapshot so that no matter what changes you do, even if you reset it, you can always move back to that edit that I already did. So how to create a snapshot? First of all, after you have done your edit, what you can do, you can create a snapshot, a capture of that edit. So to do that, just make sure you're in the develop module. Now inside of the develop module, open up this panel from the side and there is this snapshot. Okay, so click on the plus button and that allows you to save the snapshot, name it whatever you like, and then just create it. I already created one so that I don't lose it. So let's reset it and do it right from scratch. Click on reset. Let's do it right from scratch. So first thing that we need to do is, of course, we're going to convert that into black and white, but make sure your image, especially architecture image, is straight. To do that, press R or just click here, the crop overlay, right? Now, once you're inside of it, you can click on this button, the straighten tool, just click on that. Just drag the line along a line which you think should have been straight. So just drag it from this side and I will drop it right over there. Okay, now it is straight. It's bent a little bit, but that's distortion, and we will correct that later with lens correction. Now once you're happy with this, hit enter. Now I think we need to crop it a little bit from the bottom. There's a little bit of something showing up which is not pleasing to the eyes. So let's go back to this thing. Let's crop it from the bottom a little bit. Make sure we are in the center. Okay, looks amazing. Once you're okay with it, hit enter. All right. Now everything looks fine. You can of course go ahead to lens correction and you can check in inside of the profile. You can check in, enable profile correction, and see it becomes totally straight. But here's the problem. Lens correction is a heavy effect. It's heavy on the CPU. So after you have applied lens correction, it might make the other processes in Lightroom slower for you, depending upon your system. So what I personally do is that I save it for the last. I do it at the end. Okay, so right now let's keep it at that and work our way towards it. Let's go open the basic panel, and then we wanted black and white, right? So simple, you can select black and white. Now there are a lot of profiles that you can choose from. You can just click here. A lot of black and white profiles show up, but I'm not going to use them. Why I'm not going to use them? Let's close it. I'm going to use the Adobe Monochrome because I want total control over this thing. I don't want any effect or filter beforehand. Total control, Adobe Monochrome is the one if you want total control. All right. Now here comes the most debatable question. What to do first? Should we do the white balance first, the exposure first, the highlight shadows first? Now, here's how I personally approach it. I go the artist's way. Think of what do you want to do? Do you want to dim it out? Do you want to add some lights? Do that first. Do the major things that you want from your image first, okay? So for example, in this image, what do I want? I want to dim it out. So I'll just simply take down the exposure. Now, after you do what you want, then you can fine tune it always, because Lightroom is already non-destructive. So it doesn't really matter. It's not Photoshop that it's destructive. You might have to follow some steps. It's Lightroom. It's non-destructive. You can go back and do stuff. All right. So I want to dim it down. So I will take it down like that. Okay. I'm happy with this. Now I want to add some lights over here. So first off, I will add lights from the top. So I will use this gradient filter. Just click on that or press M, and then let's pull up a gradient from the top. And if you want to make sure that your gradient is straight, you would hold the shift key. That way it is straight. I'm satisfied with it. I'm going to move it a little bit like that, and I've increased the shadows. By default, it's increased. All you have to do, just double click on the effects to bring everything to 0. And I'm going to increase the exposure a bit like that. I kind of like it. 0.9, it's fine. Now let's take the brush. Okay. Now with the brush, you already know what to do. Let's make the brush a little bigger by the scroll of the mouse, or you can increase the size from here. Okay, so I'm going to make it a little bigger and I'm going to increase the exposure, or you can double click on the effects to make sure everything is in the center, spot on, no effect is being applied, and then increase the exposure a bit. Do it a bit too much. We can decrease it later. Doesn't really matter. Okay. Just make sure the flow is 100%, density is 100%. Just dab. All you have to do, dab. Wow. Lights, amazing. Dab. Dab here as well. Dab. Done. It looks awesome. Now you can add some dabs to the lights as well. So dab, dab. They look amazing, don't they? Okay, looks amazing to me. What we can also do, we can add some extra light to the pillars as well as the light is falling on it. So let me give you a tip. You can click here once. If it's straight thing, if you can click here once, right? Hold the shift key, click on the other end. It creates a straight line. Isn't that exciting? So I'm going to go back because I think it was way too harsh. Click once, click on the other hand. Click once, click on the other. I think it's too harsh. I'll do it with a separate brush. It's very harsh. So for now, let's go back. We will do this later. Don't worry about it. Okay, let's control the exposure. I think the exposure was fine. I totally love the exposure. Okay, let's create a new brush. We can edit that later. Doesn't really matter as of now. So new brush. And in this new brush, we'll just have a little exposure and just click in here. Make sure that the feather is 100% as well in this case. Okay, so it's soft. Okay, I like it. Do you want to add it that side? Let's do it. Okay, let's do it this side as well. Just click once, hold the shift key, click on the other end. Click once, hold the shift key, click on the other end. I think we added extra there. Just click once here, hold the shift key on the other end. Just add one, add some, add some. Click once, click again. Now to erase the extra areas, hold the Alt key. This turns into a minus and just simply erase the extra areas. I would erase it from here. Okay, looks pretty good. Let's add some here as well. Click once, hold the shift key. Click once, hold the shift key, click again. Okay, looks great. Now you can control the exposure from here. If you want it to be a little brighter, you can do that as well. Make sure it's not leaking, so hold the Alt and just paint out the extra areas and paint in these areas. Fine, it looks great. Now let's go back to the basic settings. Let's decrease it a bit like that. Okay, let's go back to the basic settings by clicking here once again. And let's take down the blacks. I don't want details in the shadows, so let's take down the blacks all the way down. Let's take down the shadows first. Okay, wow, it looks amazing. Now, a lot of photographers might argue that you're just deleting the details in the shadows or blowing out the highlights. Do not worry about that. Just worry about whether that's looking good to you or not, because this is an art. Don't worry about any of those things. I would go, oh, wow, this looks amazing to me. I can increase the highlights. I can increase the whites as well. So, or I can keep the highlights in the minimum and then I can increase the whites. That's totally upon what you want to do. I will increase the highlights a bit like that, and then I will also increase the whites a little bit. We are losing the details, but that's fine. That's totally fine. Okay, let's increase the highlights a bit, just a bit. Wow, it looks awesome. Now, let's go about editing it even more. Let's add a little bit of clarity, not so much, just a little bit of it. And we can add extra clarity later. Don't worry about it. Let's increase the exposure a little bit. Okay, looks pretty good. I will decrease the whites to have some details in the lights. Okay, great. Now, let's work with black and white toning. So click on BNW, and this controls the luminosity of the colors. Okay, so before converting it to black and white, it had some colors. Now, for example, if I move red to the right, whatever was red before converting this to black and white, that area's luminosity is controlled by this slider. So if I take it to the right, the red areas become bright. Take it to the left, red areas become dark. Now, if I take it to the left, wow, it looks totally amazing. Look at this area. It adds a lot of contrast to that area, and to me, it looks amazing. Let's work with the orange. Let's see how orange does if I decrease it or if I increase it. I'm going to increase it a bit. Yellow, you want to decrease it or increase it? Let's increase it a little bit. Green and these colors, let's increase the greens because the borders are the green. Aqua, blue, does it do anything? No, we don't want the blues. Nope. Nope. Fine. Okay. Now we are done with the colors. Now let's add some more brushes and stuff. All right. So let's take the brush, and this time let's add some clarity to this thing. So increase the size of the brush, double click on the effects. This time let's increase the clarity a bit, just like this. Increase it fully. We can change that later. Now let's add some clarity to these things. Now when you add clarity, it makes the shadows even more darker. So we need to control that, and we can tackle that very easily. Let's add a little bit of clarity to this. Borders and the sides. Okay, to look at where the brush is painting, you can always press O. See, these are the areas where we painted. Press O again to hide it. Now, decrease the clarity a bit and gradually increase it to the point where you like it. I like it a little bit. So let's now increase the shadows because it's getting too dark. Okay, now that we do it, there are a couple of areas where it is leaking. So we'll just take it away from those areas. You already know how to do that. By holding the Alt key, turns it into minus, and then just paint over that area. Just like so. Isn't that wonderful? Easy stuff? Very easy stuff. Let's have a look at the before and after. So this is the before, this is the after. We have come a long way. Now let's see what else we can do in this case. So we can play with the tone curve. So let's play with the tone curve and make the highlights a little brighter. But if we do, we lose detail. So we won't do that. Let's bring that back. Just increase the lights a little bit. Darks. Let's increase the darks and take away the shadows. Let's increase it a bit. It looks amazing. All right. Now, if you want, you can create a faded effect as well in the tone curve. So click on this to get the manual curve, and then you can simply take up the shadows. On the left hand side, we have the shadows. On the right hand side, we target the highlights. So we want to make the shadows brighter. So where do we have the shadows? In the left. So from the left, we take it up to give it a faded effect. Also, we don't want to brighten all of it, because if we take it up from the left, these areas are also being brightened. So we will take it down. Just the shadow area is brightening up. So this creates a faded effect. If you're a fan of it, go for it. I'm not a fan of it, especially in this image, for this image. All right, I want it to be totally contrasty. So let's go ahead and create one more brush. So this is the power of this. One more brush, and double click on the effect. And this time also increase the exposure. I think we can do a little bit of exposure here and there, just a little bit. Just random some things. A bit here. No, not looking great. So we're gonna try giving it a big brush, just a big point over there. Okay, it looks great. We painted a little extra, so we'll hold the Alt key or the Option key and then just delete the extras from the sides. Okay, cool. All right, looks great. Now we can control the exposure from here if you want to. All right, looks amazing. Let's add one more. But before we do, let's try the clarity a little bit in these areas. Okay, let's try one more. Click on new to add new brush, and then let's add some clarity to these areas as well. So we're going to increase the clarity. First of all, double click on the effect and let's increase the clarity all the way up. Okay, let's add some clarity to these areas, to these bars as well. Okay, they look great. Now, if I add clarity to the lights, how do they look? They look great as well. right? They look amazing. Now let's take down the highlights. If you want more details, wow, that looks totally amazing. Now at the end, this looks great. Let's add one more brush just for the lights, just to add that haze to the light. In this case, we will just simply increase the exposure. Okay, and let's try adding these lights, and we will try something different. Let's see whether that works. In order to add that haze, what we can do is we can try decreasing the clarity. Let's see how that does. No, I don't kind of like it. I don't like it. Let's decrease the haze by decreasing dehaze. You can do that, but for this image, this just doesn't work. Okay, we'll stick with exposure. Add a little bit of exposure to this. And if we decrease the whites a little bit, just a touch, so that we don't blow out the details, and we are ready to go. At this point, I want to go back to the graduated filter and then just pull it a little down. Sometimes I also call it the gradient filter because it's just like a gradient, and I want to pull it down just like so. That looks interesting. Let's click it to bring it back to normal. Also, one of the most important things when it comes to these architecture black and white images is the sharpness. So make sure it is sharp. So let's go to the details panel. Now inside of the details panel, let's zoom in quite a bit, and I add a lot of sharpness to this. And this is a black and white image, so noise really does look good in this. You can apply noise as an effect. Wherever you think there's too much noise, this is what I do. I add noise as an effect. If anybody says that there's too much noise, I said that I added it. It's an effect. All right, so there you go. So let's add 114. That's fine. Now hold the Alt key or the Option key, and let's increase the radius to the point where you think the edges are defined. If you go too much, you'll see this halo effect. We don't want that. So what I do, I take the radius all the way to the left, and by holding the Alt key or the Option key, keep on increasing it. Just when you begin to see the halo stuff, stop. So for me, that point was around 1.1, 1.0 is fine. Now details, hold the Alt key or the Option key. Similarly for the details, how much of a detail do you want? If you go too much, you'll show the noise. We don't want to show the noise so much. So we will be somewhere around 22-ish. That is fine. We don't need to do masking because we will sharpen the complete picture. This is not a portrait. All right. So masking does not sharpen areas which are seamless. For example, the seamless skin, for example, the seamless sky. But in this case, we have to sharpen up everything. I don't want to decrease noise, so noise reduction, I'll keep it at minimum, and we are pretty much good to go. Now, the last thing here is the aspect ratio. I don't like it in this aspect ratio. I want it to be like 16:9. So let's click in here, okay? And then I'm gonna choose the aspect ratio 16:9 from here, and I'm gonna lock it. So make sure it's locked. If the lock is open, the aspect ratio might move. You don't want that to happen. So make sure you choose 16:9 and make sure that is locked. And then you can just control it the way you want it. Looks awesome that way. Hit enter once you're satisfied. Looks amazing. And at the end, do not forget it. Lens correction, enable profile correction. And we are done. Now let's compare it with what I had done earlier. So let's save this as a snapshot as well. So let's save it Pix tutorial. So this is a competition. This is the one that I did before. This is the one that I did right now. There's not much of a difference. This is before, this is, wow. I replicated the exact same thing. This usually does not happen most of the time. So that's pretty much it for this video. I hope this tutorial helped you. And if it did, make sure to give us a like, and also do not forget to subscribe, and not just subscribe. Ring the bell so that you, my friend, don't miss any other future tips, tricks, tutorials. I would like to take this moment to thank all these nice and amazing people for supporting PiXimperfect on Patreon and helping keep PiXimperfect free for everybody forever. Thank you so much for all the support, and guys, please do join our Facebook group, PiXimperfect Creative Family. Actually, it is PiXimperfect Photoshop and Lightroom Creative Family. You can post your work, get feedback. There's me there and a lot of other creatives. Connect with all of us. Let's have a discussion. Do join that group. Links are in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in my next one. Till then, stay tuned and make sure that you keep creating.